Hello, hello, hello. Today we're going to look at price elasticity of supply, particularly for GCSE students. So let's get into it. So firstly, any idea what it is? That's what I thought. It's all about the supply line today. So here's the definition. Make sure you jot that down. So removing all the jargon, how quickly can supply change when demand changes? So basically, I go to a business tomorrow and I say, I need 10,000 iPhones right now. How quickly are they able to supply those extra iPhones to me? It's going to depend on a lot of reasons, isn't it? Here's the equation. The percentage change in quantity supplied over the percentage change in price. Some suppliers are going to be able to react quickly and some aren't. And here's the variables when we come out with the answer to the equation. If you notice, this is usually all positive. The values in this case are positive because usually both values in the equation are either positive or minus, i.e., if price goes up, businesses are usually willing to supply more. And on the opposite side, if price goes down, businesses are less willing to supply. And as we know, a double minus makes a positive. So let's move forward to identify perfectly inelastic, price elastic, unit elastic, and elastic supply. We can look at this on a graph to identify it, okay? So we've got our SA, SB, SC, SD, and SE. Looking at this without me telling you anything, can you identify what would be considered elastic or inelastic? Interesting, right? So if you just think about these variables here, we've got the price of the good and the quantity supplied here. Now, if we were SA, if I go to the business and say, I want to buy lots more of your product, I want to buy a greater quantity here, am I able to do it? Absolutely not. The line doesn't move, does it? All that would happen is people will be fighting for exactly the same rare product and the price would shoot up. SB is a little bit more flexible, SC even more flexible. As we move along this gradient, we get more elastic to SD and finally perfectly elastic. So this means that it doesn't matter how many extra I order, they can always supply more. The more inelastic it is, the more rare the item is or the longer it takes to produce. And as we move along here, the less rare it is, the more easy it is to produce and store. So let's go through each one by one. The first one then, a perfectly inelastic supply line. So this we can say is buses. A bus might only have 50 seats. That's it. No more, no less. And legally in some countries, you're not allowed to stand on the bus. So it doesn't matter if demand's even inside this line. Demand could be here. So that means we might only have 30 seats taken. There's still a maximum of 50 seats. If demand is here on this line and it shoots up, the only thing that's going to change is the price. We cannot add more seats to the bus unless demand gets so crazy that we decide we're going to buy another bus and then another line would come here to make 100 seats. So other examples include the subway or the cinema where there's a limited number of seats. And the equation looks like this. Because the percentage change in quantity supplied is always zero, this line doesn't move left or right, the answer will always be zero. And that's why we call it perfectly inelastic, okay, based on the equation. Moving forward, here we can see a more inelastic supply line. So this means the supplier does have some flexibility, but not loads of flexibility. As price goes up, some suppliers are willing to maybe shift their production and produce, or the same suppliers are willing to concentrate more of their production on this good or service. So in this case, let's say demand increases massively. People really want to buy this good or service. Problem is, the company cannot adapt quickly enough. This might be grain or rice. Rice takes months to grow. They'd have to plant more, and it would take ages to harvest the crop. So, looking at this, the massive increase in demand does not lead to a great increase in supply. In fact, the demand increase percentage significantly outweighs the supply increase. Therefore, we do percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in price. We can see the value is 0.3. And because it's between 0 and 1, we call it price inelastic. In the exam, you have to be able to make these determinations, which is why you need to copy down this page and understand it wholeheartedly. This is your rubric for PES. Next, we have a really simple situation where we call it unit elastic. Sometimes this can be displayed as a curve, but the idea is we have a large increase in demand. Let's say price goes up by 10%. Quantity supplied will also go up by 10%. This one's a more simple concept on the supply line. Let's move forward. Here we go. Elastic supply. So this means if there's a slight increase in demand, the supplier is willing and able to meet that increase in demand. They are very successful at it. As I said here, they might have spare production capacity, so the factory might have spare machines they can use, or good storage of these products, they might last a long time, or easy access to resources to increase capacity quite easily, so they can really adapt really quickly to changes in demand. But of course, the change in demand, or shall we say the change in price, is significantly lower than the change in quantity supplied. They're adaptable, they're fast, and they're responsive. Moving forward, perfectly elastic supply. These are the most adaptable of the game. Doesn't matter how much demand increases, bang, it's yours. These guys must have an incredible amount of spare resources and storage in order to supply you what you need. So in this case, the change in supply is considered to be unlimited because this line is continuous forever. Therefore, an example would be if the price fell below slightly, no one would supply this good or service. And if price was above, everyone would supply this good or service. It's like an all or nothing, everything or nothing scenario. That's why they say it is unlimited over 1 for the change in the percentage of PES. So yeah, the price can't really change here, because if it does, it's an unlimited change in supply. Either all in or nothing. Okay, moving forward. I'd like to think about it as like a whole factory that decides, okay, I'm going to switch my production from milk to only make cheese. And then as soon as the price of cheese drops, bang, I don't make cheese at all anymore, completely stopped. And that's why we have a super high number of unlimited for this theoretical concept. Right, let's run some numbers. We can see the numbers on the X and Y axis. I'll help you out with the first one. So we've got a 0% change in quantity supplied on SA. Supposed to be a straight line. It is a bit wonky. But the change in price is the same for all of them. We're going to do plus 11.11, okay? Plus 11.11%, this gap. So we've increased the price, okay, for each of them. So in these columns, just put plus 11.11, plus 11.11, plus 11.11, plus 11.11. You work out the change in percentage of quantity supplied, just like we did with PED, and then use that to calculate PES. Pause the video now. Did you get this? What can we see? We can see as we move along, actually, because of the way I've done the gradient, this is actually closer to unit elastic because it's closer to 45 degrees. C is actually more elastic, D very elastic, and look at that, E perfectly elastic based on these number values. It's nice when we add numbers to it, isn't it? So I hope this really helped with the concept of calculation. You've got to apply that equation to get the outcomes that you need. This divided by this equals this. All right, so question time then. What can a factory do to prepare for a large increase in demand? How can they modify their PES to be more efficient? You can pause the video if you want. The first thing is they can build spare production capacity. If you've got spare machinery ready to go, bang, you can supply more. You can immediately turn up your production. Next, stock of finished components. What if you've got lots of storage, like I said before? De Beers are famous for storing diamonds in banks and releasing them slowly to the market to push up prices. Time period. Think about how quickly it is to make these sweets. Super fast, right? Super fast to make, super easy storage, bing bang bosh, off you go. And finally, how easy is it to switch between employees, machinery? How easy is it to substitute these factors of production? How quickly can you attract new labor to your company when you need to produce more? Do they need qualifications and skills like doctors? Does that make it easier or harder? Usually harder, right? So, how flexible are you? All right then, these 5 variables were super important and you definitely have to know them, okay, because there's a lot of exam questions on them. It is now question time. What do you think about a business? Is it better to be elastic or inelastic for PES? Why? So actually, both can be okay. Depends on what items you make. So for elastic means you might be able to adapt faster than the competition. If you can adapt faster than the competition and upgrade your production, that might mean money, taking more opportunities in the market. What about inelastic? What if you've got a rare good like a Bugatti or something like that? It's a car that takes ages to produce and it's highly specialized and people want it because of its rare nature. That means they can add a massive markup for that over time. But again, they've little ability to adapt to the market. So you've got to see the positives in this area. So different ideas now. Look at all of these products. I want you to identify if their production is elastic or inelastic and why. So think about the supply of these goods and services. Why would you say it's elastic or inelastic? And then give me an explanation. All right, let's start with bananas. Bananas are highly inelastic. They take ages to grow on trees. There's a lot of them, don't get me wrong, but they take a long time to grow. Medicine, super elastic, really easy to store. You go to a pharmacy, these things last for years. They're super small, portable, and easy to transfer around a country. Computers, elastic. They've got huge resources available to make computers these days. And a lot of excess stock because computers go out of fashion so quickly with the specs. Nuclear generators, of course, inelastic. Can you imagine how long they take to make? And the QC they've got to pass, my God. Seats in a cinema, as we said, limited number, perfectly inelastic in supply. And finally, houses. Houses take a long time to build. Therefore, they are also considered to be inelastic. Moving forward. So, here's an exam question, okay? If it needs highly specialized skills to produce, would it be elastic or inelastic? Now, the exam question, you can understand their argument, right? They're basically trying to say that if it requires a highly specialized person to produce, then it takes time, effort, and energy, and it's hard to switch factors of production like labor. You need to get very precise people with high wages to do this job, therefore it's inelastic. And if you thought that, you would be right. Look at this, it talks about firms trying to steal from one another. So 4 marks for basically expressing this. Hard to get the staff, hard to train the staff. For me personally though, I think that, let's say you are contributing to the Microsoft Windows team. You might be highly specialized, but once Windows is produced, it can be downloaded on any computer in half an hour. So personally, I think there's more caveats to it. I think it depends on the product. Next, calculation time. We've got to practice these calculations. Remember, PES is percent change in quantity supplied over percent change in price. So you now calculate all of these. Pause the video, please. To calculate percentages, there are many ways. We know this difference here is 20, right? Minus 20. So what we could do is we take the minus 20, we put it over 60 and times 100. So we take the difference, put it over the original price and times 100, and that'll tell us the percentage difference. And in that case, 20 over 60 is 33%, right? And we can do that same strategy for this. Minus 20 over 120 times 100. And that will give us 16. So we put that in the equation, which is percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in price. And that gives us a value of 0.48. Meaning, is it elastic or inelastic? Inelastic. The percentage change in quantity supplied is way lower than the percentage change in price. This means the supplier can't adapt as quickly as they need to or should do to be competitive. Let's have a look at the others. Oh, look at this. 1.45. 5. Wow. Super elastic on this one. Perfectly inelastic on this one. And again, very elastic in this one. I hope you're comfortable with these calculations now. Okay, so here's the final PES and PED question for today. This is a real exam question and it's got the mark scheme attached. So, analyze how an increase in the price elasticity of demand and the PES of its products could benefit a firm. So, if PED is increasing, is it becoming more elastic or more inelastic? It's becoming more elastic, right? And it's the same with PES. So let's start with PED, because it's clear we're going to get 2 or 3 marks for explaining the PED situation and 2 or 3 marks for explaining the PES. We have to separate them. So PED becomes more elastic. That means the percentage change in demand is greater than the percentage change in price. So if I increase the price a little, I lose a lot of customers. But if I lower the price a little, I gain a lot of customers. So what am I going to do? I can reduce my price to raise revenue. You see how I've explained it just then? Look at the mark scheme. So you can get up to 4 marks for explaining PED. What about PES? So we know it's becoming more elastic, which means the firm is able to adapt faster to the market, right? If it becomes more elastic, they can adapt faster, maybe they can outcompete other firms. They will be faster to respond than other companies. They can take charge of this increase in demand. And look at that. There's your marks. Also, it goes the other way. If prices go down, they can be elastic in taking their products off the market. Think about what De Beers did with diamonds, storing them in banks, taking them off the market, artificially inflating prices. All right, that's it from me on PES. If you want any private lessons, just click the link down below. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.